Hey, it's Nikachu. In this video, we'll explore the best Magic the Gathering combos invented by new cards printed in 2024. Some of these combos were so strong they had to be banned in the same year. Starting the year with Murders at Karlov Manor, Vein Ripper was released. A 6-mana flying vampire, which forced you to sacrifice a creature to target it. Not to mention, if any creature dies, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. It would finally break a card printed 5 years earlier, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. The -3 ability reads, you may put a vampire creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Putting a Vein Ripper in play on turn 3 was overwhelming for the Pioneer format. It was a giant flying creature that would kill you in a few turns, and there was no good way to deal with it. The ward made you sack a creature, and even if it died, Vein Ripper drains and gains for 2 life. This combo made removal so bad that Rakdos vampires completely dominated the Pioneer metagame. So on August 26th, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord hit the ban list. After 5 long years, you finally see play and then you're banned! They almost never banned the new card. But Vein Ripper wasn't the only combo card to come out of Murders at Karlov Manor. Case of the Stashed Skeleton ended up being a great reason for the Transmogrify deck to splash black. Transmogrify exiles a creature and then you reveal cards on the top of your deck until you reveal a creature and cheat it into play. This works with Stashed Skeleton because when it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/1 black skeleton creature token, a creature that isn't part of your deck that can be targeted by Transmogrify. Also, if you solve the case of the Stashed Skeleton, you can search your deck for any card. Oh, what am I gonna get? Maybe, I don't know, Transmogrify? Making the combo even more consistent to cheat creatures in play, like Atraxa. This deck was strong enough for Connor McKenzie to make it all the way to the finals of a regional championship. In reality, this deck was stashing wins the entire time. And if you're looking for any combo cards like Case of the Stashed Skeleton or Transmogrify, check them out at FusionGamingOnline.com, today's sponsor. And combo that with coupon code Nikachu at checkout and get 5% off your order for value. But nothing screams even more value than the Infinite Everything combo with Aftermath Analyst. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 3 cards, and for 4 mana you can sacrifice it to bring all your lands back from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. But don't worry about the tap part, Amulet of Vigor and Spelunking will let you untap everything. Lotus Field is one of the prime lands to return because you can float a ton of mana and re-sacrifice it to the graveyard. The card that makes this go infinite is the Land Shifting Woodland from Modern Horizons 3, which when you have Delirium, you can activate its special ability to copy a permanent card in your graveyard, that permanent being the Aftermath Analyst, which sacrifices itself to bring itself and all other lands put into the graveyard with Lotus Field back into play for way more mana. Removal is useless. You're planning to sacrifice the damn land in response anyway. With infinite land looping, all it takes is 1 Surveil land to enter the battlefield infinite times to put your deck into the graveyard to win with all your utility lands. Oh great, one of the most powerful decks in Modern's history gets upgraded with a powerful sub-combo. Shifting Woodland would be our first combo maker from Modern Horizons 3, but it's certainly not the last, because on June 14th the set unleashed multiple combo haymakers. Basking Broodscale ended up being this innocuous common, which ended up shaking up both Modern and Pauper. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Basking Broodscale, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token that can be sacrificed for mana. In Modern, this ended up being a 2-card combo with Blade of the Blood Chief, a 1-mana equipment that could be tutored off of an Urza Saga. It says, whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. The idea is that once a counter is placed on the Basking Broodscale, it will produce an Eldrazi Scion token, which will die once it's sacrificed for mana, which triggers the Blade of the Blood Chief to put a counter on the Broodscale to make the Broodscale infinitely big and generate infinite mana. Oh my god, it's a perpetual motion device! Add in a glaring Fleshraker to the mix, and infinite Scions entering play means infinite damage. In Pauper, the blade is replaced by Sadistic Glee, an aura that says whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. And the Fleshraker is replaced by Nadir's Nightblade, which makes the opponent lose life each time a token dies. But our next combo out of Modern Horizons 3 is much crueler. Shieldred the Apocalypse into Necrodominance. Necrodominance, by the way, is supposed to be a nerfed version of Necropotence. Necrodominance says, skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do, draw that many cards. Any amount of life? Well, that works perfectly with my Shieldred the Apocalypse, which says when I draw a card, I gain 2 life. So you draw a card by paying 1 life, but then you gain 2. This is some secret money machine glitch.
I asked a handful of Necro players yesterday, what's the right number of cards to draw? And they're like, well, it depends on this situation, that situation. And there were 2 things that they said definitively. If you have Shieldred in play, you pay it all.
Yes. And then this is exactly what's happening here.
By the way, why is Magic Design trying to fix Magic's most broken cards? But this obvious combo pales in comparison to the massive blunder unleashed by Wizards of the Coast. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. Only twice a turn, huh? The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Shuko's 0 mana equip ability was a repeatable way to trigger Nadu, and when Nadu put lands into play for free, it would trigger Springheart Nantuko to put a token in play, to give the Nadu player 2 additional triggers, to eventually draw your deck to win with Convoluted Loops or Thassa's Oracle. You know what this reminds me of, though? Skull Clamp. A broken card banned in many tournament formats. Combine it with a card like Young Pyromancer to make 1/1 tokens, and you can essentially pay 1 mana to kill your token to draw 2 cards, which lets you play spells to get more tokens and be eaten up to draw more cards. But eventually, you run out of mana for the turn and have to pass. Nadu says, all that, I can equip for free, still draw 2 cards, but my lands go directly in play to cast more creatures, so I can do this all day. As a result, the power of the Nadu combo only lasted a few months before it got banned. You're not doing this combo around here anymore. You might find this combo silly, but not nearly as silly as what came out of Bloomburrow with the Otters deck, which broke out at the 2024 World Championships. This deck features Storm Chaser's talent, which when it enters the battlefield, it makes a 1/1 Otter with prowess. Enduring Vitality gets added to the mix so that you can tap your Otters for mana. Add in Valley Floodcaller, and now when you cast spells, you can untap all your Otters to re-tap them for mana. If you have enough Otters in play, you can go infinite with This Town Ain't Big Enough to bounce your Storm Chaser's talent, replay it, then activate to level 2 to get back your This Town Ain't Big Enough, to make your Prowess Otters infinitely big, get infinite mana, and also get infinite creatures. That Otter teach them a lesson! While the Otters deck was a weird combo to turn up in Standard, it wasn't nearly as weird as a card like Marvin Murderous Mimic, which was printed from the Duskmourn set. Marvin has all activated abilities of creatures you control that don't have the same name as this creature. That made it an excellent combo with Tree of Perdition, which let you exchange the opponent's life total with its 13 toughness. But if Marvin's the one doing the activating, well, that means it's going to put our opponent down to 2 life. Normally, this deck would have to get a tree in the graveyard, then use Agatha's Soul Cauldron to give the ability to a creature in play, but with Marvin, it's basically a 2-card combo. A deck designed around Tree of Perdition was so strong it helped carry Corey Lack to win a regional championship. Your opponents will be barking up the wrong tree. And while that was a 2-card combo in the Pioneer format, Duskmourn created a 2-card combo in Standard. Bloodletter of Aclazots and Unstoppable Slasher. Unstoppable Slasher will slash your life total in half if it deals damage to you. You see, Bloodletter of Aklazot says if your opponent would lose life during your turn, they would lose twice that much life instead. So if the slasher damages you, you'll lose half your life, and then the other half. It's a one-shot kill. Slasher out here cosplaying as Phage the Untouchable. I have to admit that this combo is a bit more bark than bite. It exists, but it's not competitive yet. A 2-3 is very easy to chump block, and if either creature dies, so does the combo. Unstoppable Slasher, stopped by a 1-1? Someone's getting sued for false advertising. Are there any cards from 2024 that have future potential? Let us all know in the comments section below. And I'll see you in the next one.